Good morning, my friends. Good morning. We're here today again in our morning coffee for the soul. This happens every Sunday morning at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. And today's topic is a topic that we all have dealt with in our lives. Today's topic has to do with letting go or moving on or closing a chapter in our lives when it has to do with another person, when it has to do with when a relationship ends. And this topic is so important because we all have had people in our lives, and being that they have discarnated or being that they have left us at some point, it could be a relationship, it could be, a death. But we all have moments in which we ask, why did this person leave? Why did this person decide to not be with me anymore? And sometimes it is us who decide to let go of this person or move on from a relationship that has become toxic, or a relationship that has really has a dead end, and there is no prospect with that relationship. But most of the time we know that is not the case. Most of the time we suffer because we are still trying to hang on to something that no longer works for us, and that's where the pain goes. Some people ask, if someone has passed away, are you supposed to just move on? And the answer is, it's impossible for us to just let go and move on. That is really a utopia, something that we really wish we could do in its entirety. We can't just say, this person no longer belongs to my life, I'm letting go, I'm forgetting, I'm moving on. Because if you have had love for anyone, this person always will continue to live in our hearts. This person will always be remembered. And it's unhealthy to completely actually let go of anything that has been good to us. So today we're not going to talk about the part of ending anything in regards to discarnation, in regards to death. We're going to talk about relationships. I believe that we all have had some kind of relationships in which we said, I wish I could go back and fix this, or if that person had changed something, it would have worked. And you can all leave comments and any kind of questions you may it may come up. Now, we're going to integrate this knowledge, a knowledge in psychology from a great psychiatrist. She's actually one of my favorites when it's in regards to anything in ending. And her name, the psychiatrist's name is Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. And Dr. Ross has theorized in a process of grief. First of all, she did this for those who were dying, and for those who have died, who have passed away, and for those who stayed behind. And she believed that there is a process that everybody goes through after a death. And she called this really the 5 stages of grieving. I think most of us who had any basic class in psychology probably has heard of it, or probably from a friend, or we don't even know who designed this. But it was Dr. Ross. And she says that every time that someone close to us dies, we go through a grieving process in 5 stages. Now, the stages she calls, the first one is denial. The second one is anger. The third one is negotiation. The fourth, depression. And the fifth, finally, acceptance. Now, Dr. Ross brought this because when someone dies, and again, I said I wasn't going to talk about physical death, but we have to just begin with this so we can go into the relationships. Dr. Ross said that the first time that we get knowledge of someone who has passed away, we usually deny this experience. We usually say, this hasn't happened. No, it's not true. And that's true. If you ever had that phone call where someone you loved had passed away, the first thing in our hearts is to deny it. It's that action of disbelief. That is very normal to happen because it's something so big that you don't know how to deal with that. So you deny that. You deny that it's happening. The second, you get angry. A lot of times you start to question why did this happen to me? Why is this happening? Why did this person have to go so early or in this way? Or you start getting mad at the doctors if they weren't able to bring this person back in a CPR attempt. Or you start getting angry at someone who transported this person to the hospital and maybe they could have transported it a little earlier. You start getting angry at life. You start getting angry. And that's when your whys begin to come. You know, why did this happen to me? Thirdly, you go into a bargaining state where you begin to pray sometimes and say, God, let it be where this is not happening and I'll be the best person ever. Or please bring this person back somehow, or please make it so this news is really not happening and this person is still, and we can see this when someone is doing CPR and it's way past any kind of chance that this person can be back. And the person gets angry at the paramedics and they start saying, if you bring this person back, I'll give you whatever I want, whatever you want. Or so there's that bargaining. So that's the third stage. After bargaining, we start getting depressed. That's when this sets in which this person will no longer be part of our lives here incarnated. And this is for people that have absolutely no knowledge of spiritism. And most of the time, these people have very limited, if any, knowledge that this is just one life that this person has. But again, being a spiritist does not make you immune to these feelings at all. And we all may very well go through this phase, even though we know this person is not really dying. So it gets to a point where you start to get depressed. You start really feeling that something is not right. My life now makes no sense. This person is no longer sleeping next to me, or my son no longer will come and hug me after school, or whatever it is. So you get depressed until it gets to a point of acceptance. And acceptance is something beautiful, because that it does not mean that this person, you have closed your thoughts about this person. It just means that you renounced all that anger, all the depression, all that bargaining, all of that denial, and you have accepted a fact, and you will no longer be a rebel as far as wanting it to be different. You have accepted, and you are willing to walk in different ways now with your life and have faith. So that's the beauty of acceptance. Acceptance is closely related to having faith and surrendering for God's will in a way that He knows better. We are limited. So now, okay, we did all this from Dr. Ross with death. Now let's do this with relationships. When a relationship ends, when a boyfriend, a widowed, of course we just did this, but when someone who you love or someone that you're in a relationship, when they leave you, when someone comes to you and says, I'm no longer interested in you, or someone that you find out that you have trusted all these months or all these years or whatever time it is, you discover that they have betrayed you. It could be in a carnal sense, it could be in a financial way, or your trust, or they have lied to you, and you know the relationship is over. And what does that mean? What is the first thing where someone simply picks up their things and they leave, and they just say, I'm no longer interested in you? Well, the first thing that we feel is this denial. No, this isn't happening. No, this is just a moment. Sometimes we throw ourselves in front of this person. Sometimes we just disbelief. We're in completely disbelief. Excuse me. We are in complete disbelief that this person is actually doing this. They have actually left us. But the first thing is denial. This person could be moving things out of our house, or they could be clearly communicating that they now are in love with someone else, or they simply don't have any interest in us, or simply there's a book saying he's just not that into you, and maybe they just stopped being that into us. But first thing we do is deny. And denial is very poisonous in a way, because that is usually the contrary of harmony. Every time that we try to deny a fact, we go into a lot of processes, a lot of physiological changes, and it's usually not for the good in our own bodies. So denial is the first thing that we go through. No, this isn't happening. The second, again, similar to the process in death, is anger. We get angry. And all of this has a big connection with Spiritism and what Kardec has taught us from the higher spirits. And we're going to get there, of course. But the second thing is anger. Why do we get angry? I'll tell you why we get angry. At a certain time, I was in one of my classes at the university, and the professor came in and he said, I know why every one of you get angry. And the class was a big class, and we all figured either he's a genius or he's crazy. How does one know the motives that lead someone to be angry? So we all looked at the professor, and he said something that I'll never forget. He said, you get angry because things did not go your way. I was taken back by that, because anger is exactly that. Anger, usually no, according to this professor, and I think in every case that I've ever seen in my life, we only get angry when things do not go our way. And then, of course, my first thought was, well, what about that lady crossing the street and no one's helping her, and I get angry? That doesn't have anything to do with me, but in reality it does. I wish that somebody went and helped her, and when nobody went and helped this lady, I got angry. So anger has to do with something did not go the way you wanted. So again, the second stage, when one of our partners throughout our lives leaves us, we get angry. And if we get angry, it's because we wanted it not to have ended, or we wanted things to have gone our way. Correct? And that is the only reason we get angry. So that's the second stage, where we might begin to fight with this person who clearly expressed that the relationship has ended and they want to move into someone else, or whatever the reason may be. But we start getting angry. And when we start getting angry, it's never something that is productive. But that is one of the things why, and again, this natural process that happens in the majority of people. One observation that I wanted to leave here: these stages they're not set in stone. It doesn't have to be exactly in this order for the exactly everyone, and it doesn't mean that it's exactly the same amount of time that everyone will experience it. But anger shows a little bit of our egos, a little bit of, well, I wanted things to have gone my way. So first we deny that the relationship is over. How many of us are still in denial of so many things in our lives, especially relationship material? How many of us have toxic friends? How many of us have people that no longer belong in our lives, and maybe they're not in our lives, but we keep trying to rescue them? We keep trying to text them compulsively at times. We keep trying to call and bring them and invite them and stalk them on Facebook or social media. And we're still in that denial phase that this person is no longer interested. And then we get angry again, and we begin to get angry at a lot of people. And that's the interesting thing. Many times we project this anger towards everybody else. A lot of times, this person who's always got this face that is her, and this person who is angry at the world, where you say good morning and they say, well, it's good morning for you, not for me. And this person who just like a fuse box that could explode at any moment. And sometimes we see people like this every day, and we have no idea what they're going through, and we just judge that they're just evil people, bad people. They have no sense of respect. But a lot of times they're angry because they haven't accepted something in their lives, and it's a result of pain. After anger in our relationships, and we get angry, we have to pay attention, because when someone leaves us, when a relationship ends, again, we may not just get angry at the person, but we may get angry at the world. After anger, it goes to negotiation. So a lot of times when anger comes down, excuse me, we begin to negotiate. That's when we want to rescue that back. How many times have you seen a woman who has been, you know, the men ends the relationship with her, and she doesn't believe it. Then she gets angry, and then she begins to negotiate. Oh, please, I'm going to. Is it my looks? Is it the way? Is it because of I'm a little underweight or overweight? Is it the color of my hair? And I will change that. And she starts to try to negotiate with the men who no longer wants to be part. But she believes that if she changes something in her, he will come back. And we see a lot of divorces where quickly after the divorce, one of the partners began to change radically. Who hasn't seen that? Have you guys seen this happen? The woman will get plastic surgery. All of a sudden, they start going to the gym. The men, all of a sudden, he wants these big muscles, or he does hair treatment for any kind of balding he has. Or the woman starts completely changing the way she dresses, and the hair dye goes, and they start changing. And it's an unconscious way of bargaining. Look what you lost. Look at me. I'm negotiating now for you to, I want you back, but look at me. I'm a different person. Maybe you want me now because I'm changing. You see, there's a lot of negotiation there. And a lot of times these stages are not conscious. It's not something that you do knowingly. Most of the times it's not in a conscious way. After the bargaining ends and you see this person is not coming back, this person has actually moved on. Sometimes they moved out of the country. You begin to feel depressed. You begin to understand that no matter what you do, you begin to understand that you have been angry, you have denied, you have tried to negotiate, you've changed yourself, and this person is not coming back. That's when depression sets in. That's when you start to feel, and it doesn't necessarily has to be depression. Sometimes it's just a deep sadness. Sometimes you start to withdraw out of the world. You start to withdraw out of your friends. Your insecurities come out. What did I do? Is it me? And you start to really, and depression is that I'm running away from a problem and I'm running inside of me. Depression has to do many times with I don't want to deal with the situation, so I run away within myself. I don't want to accept things how they're happening, so I'm going to withdraw. Many times it's, the correlation is huge when we really dig in and talk to someone who's depressed. And of course, this is on a spiritual level as well, so it may not be clear for any psychologist or anyone, but in reality, it's a refuge. They're just running away from something and they're going inside of themselves. So that stage of depression, when someone leaves us, that is very interesting because that will last as long as you cultivate this depression, cultivate this should not have happened to me. And it can grow to a point where someone has left your life and you can decide to lead the rest of your life that way. And I say decide because in this case, it's a depression that's reactive. You are reacting to something that happened. And we react to things based on how we see things, correct? If I see a dog that's coming at me, I love dogs, so I'll usually open my arms and say, come on, puppy. It doesn't matter how big the dog is, how big their teeth are. It's not very responsible, but because I love dogs so much, my reaction will be, I love dogs. They're not going to harm me. Someone that has been bitten by a dog will react differently because they have had an experience and they see dogs as dangerous. So they might be horrified from a little puppy, a little Shih Tzu, a little nothing coming in, with maybe not even teeth yet. So you will react differently. So that is why in a depression, a reactive depression, it is your understanding of the situation that will dictate how you react to it. And all these steps, in a way, there are choices throughout them. Until it gets to a point where you accept, until there is a point where you say, this has happened, this person has left me, I am divorced. I have to understand that it's been 25 years, but it can't keep going on. A lot of cases of domestic violence. Um, One of the partners don't want to accept that this relationship no longer fits their lifestyle. It no longer fits what they dreamt about it. And you have to come to the realization that this is over. Let's accept this. So, Kardec, what does Kardec say about attachments? What does the Spirit say about people that are so attached to things, to others? Now, in regards to money, I love how Paul, the Apostle Paul, has said it's. See, many people think that money is the root of all the evil. There's a phrase that was biblically uh, it's in the Bible. Okay, sometimes, yeah, but it's in the Bible that money is the root of all evil. It's not correct. The correct phrase where Paul says was, the love of money is the cause of all evil. That's one of the things that we know causes a lot of problems. But it's not the same. The same thing goes with attachments. It's not liking people. It's not wanting to be in their presence. That is not the problem. Kardec will come and say it is this attachment, this unhealthy way of viewing that everyone is yours, that all of your things truly belong to you. That is the problem. When we begin to think that people belong to us, and there are songs and songs that say, you belong to me, you complete me. And I got to say something about completeness, and we're just about be over with this, morning coffee, but you can never think that two halves will make one. Oh, you complete me. You would have to be half of a person to be one. When that happens, one is a whole, the other is nothing. So you have to be your full self. In the Spirit's book, Kardec asks that what of the vices, what thing is regarded as the root of all evil? And the Spirits say selfishness. And this is truly interesting because they say that selfishness, all of the other vices evil proceeds from this, and all of the other vices, if you really study them, selfishness is on the bottom. And why am I saying selfishness? Because when someone leaves us, it is most of our ego that do not want to understand that this person never belonged to us in the first place. When Kardec and the Spirits come and brings this knowledge to us, saying, you may enjoy the things of the world. You may understand that everything here is for a purpose, for your betterment, for your moral betterment, for your intellectual betterment, but they don't belong to you. And it really is hard because we truly make it all about us. Think about it. When someone leaves you, the first phase is denial. Why did they leave me? Has to do with my ego. As if they did not, or they could not find another person, or even if they left in bad terms, they cheated on you, or they just did something awful. We always say, why did that happen to me? Like when we're angry, right? Well, that has to do with our ego. And Kardec will say, everything that you believe is yours, it really isn't. It's here for a purpose. And when we understand that, it does have to do with our selfishness and our ego wanting to say, this couldn't have happened to me. Why me? But we have to think, why not you? Why does it have to be with someone else, but this could not have happened to you? We have to start understanding the law of cause and effect of things that I have had in the past, of my ties to this one particular person. When is no longer healthy? Why am I trying to hold on to something that no longer works? Where is the wisdom in that? When we begin to bargain, we always want to bargain in our favor. Again, it comes the ego. Again, it comes in a way selfishness. Why couldn't that person truly have found someone better for them? And maybe it's time for me to find someone that works best with me. Why do we have this thing where we need to make the thing work? Because if it doesn't work, it shows that I'm weak. And that is far from the truth. It's when you let this person move on, whether they did you right or not. It doesn't matter if it doesn't fit anymore and you have tried to make it fit in a healthy way. It is time for you to say, okay, I'm going to move on. Again, I can still remember the good moments. And to end, let's think about even just the gospel according to Spiritism. In chapter 16, they're going in item 9, one of the spirits, Pascal, he talked a little bit about what we will take out of this world. And he says that all of the things that we cannot take out of this world doesn't belong to us. That's the first phrase. And we all should go to the gospel and really study this phrase. Everything that you cannot take physically with you, that you cannot take in any way with you, it doesn't belong to you. And when we understand that no one belongs to us, when we say that everything has a time, and sometimes you will be family with this person in the future, you will have to readjust any kind of wrong things you have done to them, and so the same goes the other way. We start to be at so much peace when we start to accept fact as they are, in a way that God has done this in our favor. God is not trying to put someone in our life and take someone in our life. He can do that, but he gives us free will to be in someone's life and to also take ourselves out of someone's life. And when we give people the right to do this, not because of our ego that we need to have this person with us to satisfy our ego, or because we're sad, or because we're alone, or because we believe that we invested too much time, but the other person has their thoughts. And when we accept that, I want those who want to be with me, we're going to turn our lives much lighter, much more bearable. So, friends, I ask you to think about your own relationships that have ended, and think about where you are in this process. Are you still denying that your relationship has been over? Are you still angry about it? Are you bargaining still with this person that no longer wants to accept even your phone calls, and you're still bargaining? Are you depressed? Are you not accepting it? Or have you reached a point of tranquility, of really faith, saying that this no longer belongs to me? It is time for me to start a new chapter. Let's listen to the Spirit's counseling on this. Let's really remember, we don't belong to those around us, and they don't belong to us. In the end, when we understand this, when I put my selfishness away and my need of belonging or having others belong to me, to a point, and say, well, maybe it's time for this person or this thing that I lost, it could be an object, to belong to someone else. Life will be certainly much less difficult. Thank you so much, friends, and we'll talk next week about a topic of someone has suggested of trauma. So we're going to talk about trauma next Sunday at 8:30 Eastern Time. Thank you again. My name is Debora Beldowicz. Thanks for listening to Kardec Radio.